Hey, thank you for tuning back in to get this conclusive summary on saturated fat and seed oils. So, I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit quick. I don't want to take a lot of everybody's time. I've probably made this audio, I don't know how many times, but hopefully this will be the last one and it's more concise. So, or my general perspective on saturated fat and seed oils is that for some people it's a problem, for some people it's not. So if we look at the pro side of using seed oils and saturated fat, most of the issues that we saw were the diet or the studies that were reviewed. They didn't seem to be long in duration a lot of times, or there was some kind of issue with the participants that were there. It was the administration of these diets, or administration of the experiment of the dosage. There was no basal percentage rates of linoleic acid. All of these things are important when we start to think about what could be confounding factors. So if I had to give like a brief opinion on what I think is causing most of these problems, if I just had to like list everything out, I would be looking at what is the person consuming? Are they junk food based? And I just go straight to junk food and we start working our way back. Okay, if it's not the junk food, are they consuming grains? Of course, this is stuff that is important because if we're finding out that the grains are causing permeability issues, we can start to get away from those. And I know there's a big argument against consuming grains and stuff for fiber reasons, but at least we still have vegetables that don't necessarily run that course per se. You can do that in a lower dose or lower amounts. Well, for sure, I mean, I think most of the field agrees that these grains are not good or beneficial for us. Maybe Nutrition Made Simple needs to make a video on that, and then we can criticize or maybe critique what the heck that means. So we've got diet that can affect how we have this. We have genetic factors that can affect how this happens. And we can just watch this video right here with the lipidologists and Nutrition Made Simple's content on how these genes influence how we process arachidonic acid and sometimes how we handle cholesterol.
A little bit of a side, because is there anything that regulates how much Niemann-Pick C1-like one an intestinal cell may produce? Number one is, your genes. There's a very specific gene that if you have will produce the proper number of Niemann-Pick C1-like proteins. But what if something went wrong, or maybe something went right? For some reason, you inherited the genes where you don't make very many Niemann-Pick C1-like proteins. That's called a loss of function. Good news, if you don't make very many Niemann-Pick C1-like proteins, you are what is called a underabsorber of cholesterol. Wow. So you're actually denying the body a source of cholesterol. Here's even the better news. Throughout life, those people's cholesterol is measured in the blood might be 15 to 25% lower than people who have proper Niemann-Pick function. But you would think that little change in serum cholesterol doesn't matter. Over a lifetime, they have almost no heart disease whatsoever. So blocking absorption of cholesterol genetically is a gift from God, because you will have a much lower incidence of ever having atherosclerosis in your body. All right. But there's going to be another part of this receptor that we'll get to. So, but anyway, hope you are born with loss of function of the Niemann-Pick C1-like protein. So if we did cholesterol absorption studies in most humans, let's say in the middle is 50%. That means you will absorb 50% of the free cholesterol molecules that make it into your gut lumen. That's on average what a normal human will absorb. And we're only talking cholesterol here, not fat, not saturated fat, cholesterol. There are about 20% of people, most of them because of that loss of function of Niemann-Pick C1-like one, who are these hypoabsorbers of cholesterol. But on the other end, there's about 25% of people that are overabsorbers of cholesterol. And guess what? They are the people who are going to correlate with increased cholesterol in the serum and possibly, oftentimes, increased incidence of coronary heart disease, atherosclerosis. So when people ask me, does it matter whether I eat cholesterol or not? I said, I can only answer that question if I knew, are you a hypoabsorber, an average absorber, or a hyperabsorber? If you're a hypoabsorber, eat 42 eggs a day. It doesn't matter. Most of it is not going to get in. But if you even have a little bit of hyperabsorption, that's probably the person we're going to advise. Back off the cholesterol a bit in your diet, and you can play it and see how it affects.
Okay, so maybe eating seed oils is not inflammatory for most people, but maybe some people have a particular susceptibility. It's like that for most things. Why would this be any different? So there are some genetic studies looking at people with different mutations in that pathway we just looked at that converts linoleic acid to arachidonic acid and beyond. So they put people on a diet high in linoleic acid, and people with one specific mutation, their CRP level trended to increase. So it's possible that there is a subset of people, maybe the more extreme cases, that have a special susceptibility. So if somebody has high inflammatory markers or has an inflammatory condition and they want to try moderating the seed oils, I don't see a problem.
So now we've got all of that to look at. We've got our microbiome that we need to consider. I mean, honestly, all of these things, it's just like a perfect cocktail to explain why people might have issues with some of these fats. That's not to say that there's not toxicity. There's not to say that there's all these other things. I'm just saying that sometimes it's worse. And sometimes there's bad health happening you just can't perceive, such as the case with the that experiment with it. I don't know if it was not on humans in the video, what Tucker was talking about. But if you go back and look at that part in the video, he says that here we are with some people that have liver failure, but they look fit and ripped on the outside and dying on the inside. So again, and then the only factor involved mainly in that situation was this heavy consumption of linoleic acid. I'm pretty much making this really, really short because I think everything else in the videos speaks for itself. I mean, I can go into like a whole deep discussion about how the pro side of seed oils really just fell flat for me. I mean, I just didn't agree with any of the study information, but I'm not going to go there because I put a lot of the notes in there for people to review. But let's go ahead and move on. What are the ways that we think we can improve the conditions experienced by seed oils? Let's say that there are issues. Maybe we have metabolic problems, whatever it is. Now, first of all, we've got to check ourselves as far as what we're consuming. I don't know when that's going to get done overnight. If these companies are allowed to continue to produce and manufacture and provide us foods that are not good for our health, it's just like anything. The rat's going to go out there and choose the addictive substance. And we cannot be miffed that our outcomes are negative every single time. Like you give everybody cocaine, you give everybody crack, I mean, whatever it is, we're not taking care of ourselves as a collective with providing these items that are potentially ruining our progress. So and I don't see it stopping anytime soon because it's almost like these industries, sugar, whatever you want to call it, they have grown thick roots inside of our consumption world. And because of that reason, those foundations, there will be an uprising if they were even removed. They'd be like, what are you doing? I like my Doritos. What are you doing? I like soda. I don't care. I'm doing fine. If I die now, it's my right. So I'm not going to complain if people want to choose bad health. I just think that if we have enough information that we can help people that don't want to be in that situation, we can at least provide it. So that's just my opinion. There's places we can go to. We don't have to go to the grocery store. Maybe there needs to be alternative stores that will not allow those types of products to show up inside them. I think that's what we should start to aim for. And then people have a source for good health. They don't have to have all that question of what they're consuming. So how can we get around some of these conditions? How can we improve our effects done to us by these seed oils? Well, one of them was for sure you can do abstinence. just stop consuming seed oils. Just like look at your ingredients, get rid of them. You don't know the percentage amounts in these foods anyways. Just stop eating them. Exercise. You get to burn off some of those free radicals, some of the bad oxidative stress LDLs. I think exercise is a good area for that to, entertain. And then we know it helps with weight loss. And that's possibly or part of the reason why these things are just converting over into our fat cells, because they have nowhere else to go. They kind of got the dumping storage area, and some people can store fat pretty well, but others may not be able to do it, and it just keeps cycling through as a toxic problem in the body. And then, of course, we can consume omega-3s. And what I use in my diet, which I've seen a huge benefit in my lifestyle, and I had trouble last year, and I'm doing way better this year, is just eating mackerel fish. I think if you can get some krill or wild caught salmon, I think you'll be doing a lot better. But mackerel is my favorite fish. I probably eat it almost every day. And it's a smaller fish. You don't have to worry about necessarily a whole lot of the harmful levels. And a lot of these doctors and individuals will tell you that's the way to go. You try to take a pill, some of this it's questionable on the oxidation level. I've heard other experts or doctors argue that some of these expensive products of fish oils are actually may not be doing us. They may actually be doing a harm in the body too. So I stay away from them. I just eat the fish. Oh, the other thing you can do is prescribe to a 24-hour water fast, and I say really a water salt fast. So you make sure that you're keeping a little bit of electrolytes during the fast. Why is that? Because it promotes ketosis, autophagy, and then with those processes, you start to eliminate some of these harmful effects done by the seed oils. It gets used up in the process. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed everything and what I've posted so far. I'm going to be planning on making different types of videos, shorter videos, just because I know that's more important for the viewers. And then I'm going to leave more of the detailed breakdowns of this subject over to the experts. And I think that's where I'm going to accelerate. And I think everyone will benefit from watching my content. But again, thanks so much. Please like, subscribe, share, let people know about it so I can keep this channel promoted and going. I still have a lot of stuff on my personal life on the side, but this is also very fun for me to do. But anyways, have a great day and see you on the next video.